Ross Ellwanger, face to face.
Yep.
Welcome to the show.
Yep.
Face to face. You gotta wear a headset today.
Oh, I usually do, but it's not hooked to nothing.
You don't have to let your computer load all afterwards.
It's kind of different not looking at you guys through a computer screen for sure.
Yeah.
I feel like I know one room in your house really well because you always got to leave it up and
the first time,
it's nice. His kitchen's really nice.
You got to find the one nice place. You go, this makes my shit
Shove
look a
your
lot
crap
better
in the
than...
corner.
I have to remember that. Make sure I don't walk around the house naked or.
No, I mute it, or I turn the video off just in case because you might forget. And we have a guest.
Hi, Shannon.
Hi, Shannon.
She's
checking in on us.
We're sitting here at Wisconsin Bear Hunter Association. We actually it worked out. I brought the whole staff this time, so we rented this room. Normally, this room's for their dinner. They have a dinner here, and they're not having a dinner this year. So we got this room here set up, and I'm going to do a presentation. But anyways, who's our guest?
Chris Ellwanger.
Chris Ellwanger.
Yep.
You are of no relation?
No, distant. No, Chris is my first cousin, and probably a lot more like a brother, especially when it comes to the hound side of stuff. And I'm sure there's people that have listened to me on your podcast before that know us and are like, well, he's not the one you should be talking to.
Right.
Chris is the one you guys should be talking to. So, I wasn't sure if he'd be willing to do it or not, but he was, and I'm glad because I've been running hounds my whole life, and so is he, and he's the one that's made it easy for me all these years. So it'll be fun to talk to him a little bit about running some bears and stuff too. So
Have you been in it longer then, or did you guys get into it at the same time?
I'm 46 years old, and I've been doing it as long as I can remember people.
Oh, nice.
Because my dad was nuts about it.
Really?
So.
And would you start off hunting the bears?
Yeah.
I just turned up, I think, your headset. I had it way down. So
yeah,
it was better when you hear it through the
good.
speakers. Yep. Yeah,
it's
technical
good
stuff. We're doing it in person. We're not quite set up, but
sure.
So what kind of dogs are you guys?
Blueticks.
Blueticks. Are you guys like dedicated Blueticks?
Pretty much.
You're committed.
Blue tick guys are.
We've hunted other stuff and occasionally had different breeds, but we're not afraid to hunt anything, but we've always stuck with the Blueticks.
It seems like in Wisconsin and a lot of places, Blueticks are big and plots are big.
Yeah.
I get whenever we're making our T-shirts, they're like, "Do we need to bring Blueticks?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, we need to bring Blueticks." You don't
go to
forget the plots.
Wisconsin,
When you come to Wisconsin, you don't forget the plot shirts. You don't forget the blue tick shirts. Those are the two that I'm like, we got to bring those two. You can skip the English and the red bone. We might piss off one or two customers, but we want to have blue ticks and we want to have plots whenever we come to Wisconsin. Why do you think that is? What's? It's a little bit of a. Is there a little bit of a rivalry or anything there? I mean, not in bad form, but you know what I mean. Is it kind of a running joke, or is it?
No, it's not really.
Subject? You're like, I don't want to talk about it.
I think it's just what his dad and our other uncle, who they both started hunting the same time, and we're pretty much hunting the same line of dogs now that they started with, and you get to a point. 40 some years into this, we pretty much got our own line now.
Yeah, pot committed.
Yeah. It's cool to look at a dog in your truck and know that you hunted that dog's mom, that dog's dad, that dog's grandpa.
Yeah.
It just, other guys try to talk me into taking pups from them and stuff. And it's like, it's not that I necessarily think my dogs are any better than theirs, but it's just that sentimental value of those dogs in your truck, you have a
connect. You have a deeper connection than just the color or the style or whatever. I mean, that makes a lot of sense because I'm the same way. Like I'm looking at a dog, and I was talking to my buddy Don. I'm like, what would I have to breed Shelby to? Because it just comes back. It has that history, and I'm like, I'm not ready to just cut that off. I only got one dog left with that in it. Yeah. And I'm like, so I totally understand what you're saying there because I'm thinking the same thing right now. Like, I really don't want puppies, but
you don't want to lose
the time is coming that I need to make a decision, either shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
And I might end up breeding Shelby just for that reason, because it's like, well, if I don't make a decision in the next year or two, the answer is no, and I don't think I'll ever get another dog out of those dogs that I started with.
Yep.
You know, not that they're any better or any worse, but
they go back to like Copper and
Copper, Penny, Turk. You know.
Oh, Turk. Yeah. That's right. I always forget about Turk.
Yeah. So
you know, when you start talking about the history of our dog, I mean, I suck at that. Like, I'll remember.
You're mean.
I'll remember my dog's parents. You know, some of the but I mean, you get Chris going on history of them dogs, where they go back to the Smoky River dogs or the Sebastian dogs or whatever. I mean, he remembers all that shit, and
well, let's start
that's exactly
there then.
Because I'm like, hey, Don, I'm thinking about breeding Shelby. Who would you breed to?
Just pick one.
Can you tell me? Because I don't know what I'm so focused on W half the time that it's just not a priority for me to know that, and so yeah, I totally get that. So let's start with. Let's go over the history of your dogs. Where did they start? Or what?
So there's a guy, Julius Sebastian, and he lived in Lower Michigan, but he had a cabin up in the UP. And my dad and uncle got their first dog from him, and he was a bear dog. Right. That was probably like
what was his name? What was the dog's name?
Sport.
And this was circa what year?
79.
Long time ago.
Yeah. He actually, before that, he got a dog named Sheila from him before that had a real cold nose, but she didn't have any guts.
Right.
And I can remember that dog, but I would have been probably 3 or 4 at the time. But Sport was a bear dog. He was beat up all the time. And then that's just why they went with with Julius's dogs, because they had guts. And then where this going on down quite a ways, we started to not get as good a stuff as we originally had. So back in like 93, there's some guys in Lower Michigan hunting Smoky River dogs. Mm-hmm. And I thought, a lot of your Blueticks I seen for bear dogs are junk.
Yeah.
I thought, it opened my eyes because I thought we had the only Blueticks that were decent bear dogs.
He's the only one. I was like,
yeah. And I did not really, I'm like, oh, they're just going to be a bunch of coon dogs that I didn't really want to get them. But we actually even tried a couple plots.
How old were you?
At that time, I would have been 17.
Yeah, I was gonna guess like late teens, just with the attitude. You know what I mean? Like, and I think that's normal. But being that attitude, like, hey,
because we were all there.
But we had pretty serious bear dogs before that with just a straight Sebastian.
Yeah, no.
For whatever reason, just breeding in them dogs and staying in the line. Some of them we weren't getting for guts what we originally had.
Yeah,
and we were getting on some rough bears, and they were quitting. And these guys in Lower Michigan had these Smoky River dogs. And a buddy of ours, Mike Crippen, bought one, and he came, and it was 10 months old. And that dog ran on a bear, I think it was like 9 hours. And we were really impressed because I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah.
Well, then we got some of them Smoky River dogs and mixed them in, and then I think we got really good dogs once we did that, once we outcrossed like that.
Yeah.
And we've stayed with what we're hunting, me and Ross now, is just those same dogs.
Right. Yeah, no, that's interesting. Like I said, I with your comment, like, oh, I didn't think we had any other dog. Nobody else had any dogs better than mine. I think that's normal, and sometimes people don't realize that behind every shack somewhere in the corner, there's some hunters out there that. Yeah. And I'm in a privileged position because
you get to see a lot.
I get to see behind the scenes a lot. You know what I mean? The guys that aren't on social media, and it's like, man, there's some really cool people out there who, you're just all they're out in the woods just hunting, and so that's interesting. Yeah.
So I try to kind of do the same thing. I mean, I'm not afraid. A lot of people like hunting in their own little area and don't like, especially with hounds.
Yeah.
They don't like to get out of it. Well, we've been doing it so long and have built up a pretty large network of friends, whether it be around the state or out west or whatever. And I like going and hunting with different dogs.
Work.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's I know there's spots where our dogs lack a little bit, and then there's other spots where they shine, you know. I mean, and I always judge a guy. Seems like the guys that hunt the most have the best dogs, and I don't think that's a coincidence.
Yeah.
No,
you know?
No, that's a direct correlation,
exactly.
Ross.
So, you know, you find people that hunt a lot, and they're going to have good dogs. I mean, you either make them, or if you're going to keep hunting a lot, you're going to find them.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, at some point you get tired of losing, and you got to figure out a winning strategy.
Yep. You either got to figure out if it's you or if it's the dogs.
We're changing the team or the coach. Which one?
Exactly. So we try to do that too. You know, he came out west with me for, I don't know, a number of years. You know, we got a pretty good network of friends out there, run lines out there and stuff. And it's
so do you guys have to outcross much at all, or is it pretty much self-contained at this point and you've got enough out there that you can just keep?
So I've seen guys just breed in our Blueticks, breed dogs that I would call them inbred because they don't want to get out at all. And what I've seen with them, and this is our good friend we know, they're very, very shy.
Yeah.
And I think you need to outcross once in a while.
Right.
Because just from what I've seen from way back with the Sebastian dogs, and then once we got them Smoky River crosses, those first 2 crosses together that were Sebastian and Smoky River, I've never seen nothing like it.
Really?
And
how so? I mean, just as far as just having the grit.
They were really gritty. I compared them. Some of them were as bad as Plots, which I didn't think was possible in the Blueticks.
Right.
And now, you know, Sage is a little bit outcrossed, and I think that, and them seem to be doing pretty well. I think you need to outcross once in a while.
Right.
Because I think it just gets too contained, and it seems like you lose. And I've read stories on Plots, and I'm not going to name any breeds that I've read or they're breeding, but I don't know what they talk about. Some of them I'd have to see it to believe it. I'm not saying it's not true, but I never found that out breeding these dogs.
Yeah. Interesting.
Because, you know, I've read some of them where they say they just keep reproducing the same dog.
Yeah.
Staying in the same. I didn't see that. Not in these dogs. We didn't keep reproducing. For a little while, I would say yes, but it doesn't keep going.
Yeah, you started losing.
Like hits a cap.
Yeah, I don't know why that is, but.
You see that with repeat crosses even. Like one litter is way different than the other one too. Yeah. Like we see that a lot. And we had some pretty tight bred stuff.
Well, so what would you call these Blueticks? Is there a line or what?
We always say they're 50-50 Sebastian and Smoky River.
Yeah, we call them Ellwanger Blueticks.
So when you have to make an outcross, do you pretty much stick to that Smoky River side then?
Yeah, this last time we did, yes. It had a little bit of Diamond Jim, some Diamond Jim in it. Well, and Ross knows they're crazy. We got a pup here, and
yeah, if you walk by the puppy pen, and you hear one just hammering, it's probably her.
Yeah. Oh, you brought one for the puppy auction?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, even in that cross, my 2-year-old's the same cross just a couple years ago, and some of them are pretty chill, and some of them are nuts. You know, and yeah. You just don't know what you're going to get. If breeding was an exact science, you know, we'd probably all be having completely different conversations. But, you know, it's just when you think you got it figured out, it's
a crapshoot.
Yeah, you don't know what you're
A calculated crapshoot is the best way, I think, to put it.
Yep. Yeah. So what's your guys' season? When do you guys start?
Well, we start running bears July 1st.
July 1st?
Yep. And then July and August, we run... we call it training season. You just running bears for fun, basically. Yeah. And then our kill season starts either the first or second week in September. Then that goes for 4 weeks long as well. So typically we're getting done either the first or second week of October. And then we got a break, and pretty much as soon as it starts snowing, we start running bobcats or coyotes, wolves when we can, when we have a season. But
same dogs?
Yeah, Pretty much. I like, me personally, I like to keep only 3 or 4 of my own, and I really like to cat hunt, so I try to keep them straight on cats. One reason I don't need very many dogs is because he's got a shitload.
And how many is a shitload?
15, 16. But
that's a
Ross
pile
takes
where we're
some.
from.
And my wife drives her separate truck
really?
every time we go hunting.
Yeah.
She doesn't have a choice.
No double-decker dog boxes or anything fancy.
I don't have to because there's 3 trucks always.
Yeah. Belosier, he hunts 2. He has his 1 truck, and he's got 20 dogs in it with 2 mules. And I'm like,
that's wild.
Unreal.
But he drives to the spot, and then those dogs are, so it's not like driving around all day either.
You're just getting them from A to B.
Yeah, we're fortunate though, because Chris is, with his work schedule, he's able to hunt a lot, and I'm able to hunt a lot. So we can, between the 3 of us with his wife, I mean, we run a lot of dogs.
That's good.
Bear season's completely different than winter hunting. If you want to go hunting that day, you can go. For the most part, yeah, you get 1 or 2 rainouts here or there, but it's not like winter hunting where you got a horrible crust or something you just can't go. So we're able to hunt them all, and it's fun, and he treats my dogs like they're his, and vice versa. So if he gets a little bit low on dogs or they're worn out or whatever, I'll just leave mine there and he'll take mine, and it works out pretty well that way. And
Same program.
Yeah.
We're
on the same page about everything.
For sure.
What dogs are good at what, and what dogs need work at other things, and just hunt them.
Yeah.
Take them hunting.
Yeah.
Take them hunting.
Are you guys limited to the number of dogs you can run at a time?
Yeah, it's just 6 at a time.
So you're like relaying. How does a bear race look for you guys? You have the ones you usually start with, and then grab them going across the road and relay freshies, or?
Yeah, and we've got a lot of bears too. So, in training season, when you're looking for smaller ones, I mean, he'll put out on one bait, and I'll go up the road and put out on another one, and one's getting close to the road, so I'll go over there and switch out a couple dogs on that one, and you look on the Garmin, and the other one's getting close to the road or whatever, so you just, a lot of times we'll have 2, 3, 4 bears going at the same time, and
Oh, wow.
That's wild.
If you want to rig, you can rig one fairly quick.
Yeah.
In the summertime.
Yeah. And I think I told you one of the last podcasts we were talking about it, and talking about rigging stuff, and my dogs don't rig.
Right. I remember talking about
His dogs do, and it's like I told you before.
Why do you think that is?
Because he's not afraid to.
He trusts his dogs more than Ross does.
He's not I don't like getting the shit kicked out of my dogs. And when you rig a bear, you don't know if it's 50 pounds or if it's 350 pounds.
Yeah.
Whereas he's a little bit more reckless than I am, and his dog's rigging, he'll send them. Right. So, and that teaches them, hey man, if we smell a bear and bark, he's going to cut us loose. Yeah. Whereas I think my dogs have gotten a little bit more in the mode. Well, he's not going to turn us out until we pull up to a bait. Really? So
that definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a podcast with Don on rigging. It was bobcats, rigging bobcats, and there's definitely dogs that excel at that, and there's dogs that you can kind of teach them, or try to train them, but it doesn't really. I guess it's all the definition of what a rig dog is. You know what I mean? Like, a lot of dogs bark because the other dogs bark and they learn it. Which dog's really hitting that track first?
But he sees that in his truck too. Like, you'll have 1 or 2 dogs that. Lightning barks, it's a rig,
he's always the first one, always.
Yeah. So you can help foster that or bring it along or whatever, encourage it, but it's also kind of in them or it's not.
They got to know that you're going to let them down too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly.
It's like you can enhance instinct, but you can't enhance it if it's not there. Like, I've had dogs that just flat don't rig. Which is weird, because when I started hunting, and I know I've said this, like, everybody had rigged dogs. Like, it was weird to me that anybody hunted any other way. Mm-hmm. I just grew up around rigged dogs. And now it's like, I don't own a rigged dog, and it's a little rough some nights, when you're roading them 20 miles or whatever it is over a weekend. And it's like, man, we could have burned through this for about 10 gallons of gas and saved feet.
Yep. and not had worn out dogs when you actually found something.
Yeah, when you finally get on a track and now they're on their last leg, you know, it's the value of a good rig dog is something like, I think people have been around dogs at rig, but like a true rig dog is something that's like mind blowing to watch. Like when you can tell they're going to rig before they even say a word, it's like he's going to hit a track at some point. We're going to cut back up this hill and I'll bet you there's something there. And then boom.
There he goes.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's a pretty cool thing to see because they're pulling it out of thin air. I mean, really, you're just having to trust them too. And that's why I went away from rigging so much. It's like, I don't really trust these dogs.
Well, you got to be willing to have a train wreck every once. Or, you know, I think if you trusted every dog in your truck every time they barked, it would.
Yeah.
You got to have that one or two.
But your collars make it way easier.
Yeah. They give you a little advantage. Like I have sometimes where I'll get a little twitch, a little stick off the side of the road, and I don't hit them or anything. I just show them. I'm like, settle down, you sons of bitches. Here's my stick.
All you got to do is pull the Garmin out.
Yeah, show the Garmin. And be like, hey, you see the Garmin? I do got it. It's
fingers on the button.
Let's rein it in a little bit. Because if they learn to bark, really get down every time, they'll want to bark for everything. Be like, I smell something over here.
I got to use the bathroom.
Yeah. So, Don, his thing was like, we'll just take off. Make them run a mile or two. You know what I mean? They start tightening up a little bit that way too. So
knock the edge
they
off.
get time every time they get down without a track and they got to run 2 miles at full sprint. They kind of start changing their tune a little bit too, and they wear down. They don't.
We're so fortunate in Wisconsin to be able to bait. I mean, that helps a lot.
Yeah,
especially once we get later in the summer and in the fall, it gets tough to rig.
Why?
They just don't move as much.
Oh, really?
Scenting gets a little bit tougher, so I don't think you're rigging as old tracks and stuff either. Once you
definitely, yeah, we're like he said, we're really fortunate. There's lots of small bear moving around all the time. You get to the fall, and it can almost go like they don't even exist in the same area. They just
hole up.
Yeah, and there's
find a food patch or
certain people that haven't done it for a while that are bait sitters think that dogs are chasing them. That's not the case. They just natural food comes on, and they start getting ready for hibernate mode.
Right.
So they don't hit baits as nearly as well.
Yeah, you can't compete with natural food.
No.
I get, like he said, I get bait sitters that text me, well, what they quit hitting. What do I switch up? Or like, good luck.
Yeah, go find a berry patch.
I mean,
what is a natural? I mean, what are they eating on when the natural feed comes on out here?
A lot of hazelnuts, acorns is big.
Yeah,
and then cornfields.
And yeah, that's it. That's probably by us.
I wouldn't even imagine the cornfields. I'll bet that's a rodeo. Running bears through cornfields.
It's that's probably when we get to kill season. That's probably about 30 to 50% of our hunting is cornfields.
Yeah, really,
just
rows of corn,
free cast the dogs in cornfields.
Like corn still on,
corn still up. Yep. And you just
see these tunnels.
The bears get in there and they don't leave. Like they got their food. They might mosey out to get a drink of water every once in a while, but they'll come back. So that's where they go. And how else do you?
How do you compete?
Perfect example. This last kill season, I've got a cabin. My cabin butts up to my neighbor's standing cornfield, which is about 40-acre cornfield. Well, I've got a bait behind my cabin that's not 200 yards from that cornfield, but I also got deer cameras for deer on my food plots that butt up to that cornfield. Well, I was getting pictures of this nice bear almost every day on those deer cameras. There's a swamp, so I imagine he was pretty much living in that cornfield, and he'd walk by my deer cameras to go get a drink of water or whatever and walk back. Well, we didn't have much for decent bears opening day on baits, and like, man, let's just go. I'm sure that bear is there. Me and my neighbor both been getting pictures of it every day, just free cast dogs in the cornfield, and, all of a sudden dog lights up and a few other ones pack in and they're baying and walking through the corn. And what did that bear weigh? 420 or something?
Yeah, it was right around there.
And, that thing was in a 30-acre cornfield for 3 weeks and never hit my bait. That was 200 yards away. And you wouldn't have even known he was there if I didn't have my...
So they come squirting out of the cornfields when the dogs get on them? What do they do? How's that race go?
You're that big.
Dude, it's a crapshoot.
Really?
Sometimes they do. You'll end up... You don't know what you're going to end up on. There could be a sow and cubs in there. There could be a 50-pounder. There could be a 600-pounder. It's just a crapshoot. You don't know. I'd say most of the time the bigger ones don't come out. They go straight to bait up, and you got to walk in and shoot them, which is...
I bet that's interesting in a standing cornfield.
It's sketchy.
There's not much room.
You got to be right on top of them, too.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I found works the best is I get down, pretty much lay on the ground, because you get low and, the corn stalks are just...
Get below
the canopy of the corn, and then you can see their feet.
Yeah.
So you'll see the bears pointed this way or whatever, and then you run over a few rows or whatever and try to get in there and cut them off.
Get in front of them.
Yeah. Or walk. Sometimes they'll let you walk right up to them, but a lot of times it ends up being a cat and mouse thing in there, because they'll smell you, hear you, or whatever, so they'll go 100 yards to the other side of the cornfield and stop.
Do they tear the corn up when they're switching lanes and all that?
Not too much, really.
Not like you'd think. No, not.
Really? It's not like...
See, I would picture like driving a truck through a cornfield.
That's what they sound like when they go through them, though.
A drone or helicopter in the cornfield looks like, the kids, they made a maze over there.
Yeah, right? Like a corn maze.
Yeah. And that's what when they're feeding, that's what they'll do. I mean, you'll walk into a cornfield, and from the outside, you don't see much. You get in the middle, and, you'll get there, and they'll have a spot half the size of this room just
laid
down. Laid down, huh?
Just flattened right down.
So those farmers probably don't appreciate
it. No, they like it when you come get the bears out, for sure. But that, in my opinion, those hunts are like the most intense, especially you get somebody with the trigger doesn't got balls of steel,
That's where you don't take the rookies.
It can get dicey. Me and him have seen it 100 times, so we're not really afraid to walk right up there, but you get somebody else that's 75 yards away, and it's like, dude.
No.
You can't.
Not going to work.
Well, you got the dogs, but especially if it's a rifle, corn stalks ain't going to stop a rifle bullet, you know, and there's going to be a road next to that cornfield. And a lot of times there's a house or whatever else not too far away, So it's intense.
So that's like a big thing, though. Certain times a year, you run a lot of them in those cornfields.
Yeah, it's probably about half of our hunting. Wouldn't you say?
I would say it's half, especially this last year.
Yeah,
and I think those cornfields out of the area we hunt all the time. I think they draw out of there to those cornfields because our baits go.
Yeah, I think they'll come for miles to get to a cornfield.
Right.
Are you guys baiting like the same areas every year? Is it like a yearly bait site?
Well, some of those baits have been up there longer than I have.
So that's why I was thinking, like the cornfields, I would think they would gravitate there because it's probably been a cornfield for 50 years. Generationally, they just know to go back into it.
They're probably likely born there.
Yeah, right.
Mom took them there first year, and it just gets ingrained in them like anything else.
Right. So you probably, I know Ross has said you break your dogs on coons.
Yeah.
Right? You do the same?
Oh, yeah.
Or you end up running coons nonstop?
No, coon are bad. I'd rather run a deer than a coon.
Wow.
You got to walk in and get them.
Yeah.
Deer usually circle back or whatever. Especially with these collars, they're out.
Yeah.
If it's treed, you got to go in and see if it's a coon or a bear, which I don't know if we treat a coon last year. We generally don't.
Right.
Yeah.
This year.
Knock on something.
You gotta treat a bunch of
next season.
Yeah, like I told you guys before, if your dog likes coon by us, it's going to end up on coon. Yeah.
It'd be bad.
That's how I feel about bears. When we hunt in September, if you dog likes a bear, there's a really good chance you're going to try and catch a bear.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it killed me to break a dog off a bear.
Yeah.
Like, killed me. But you can't hunt small game in Oregon in the fall and not run a bear if they're not broke on them.
Yeah.
It's just there are too freaking many of them.
Yeah, there's a pile of bears over there.
It's getting like that for us in the wintertime with trying to run cats. You know, a lot of guys around northern Wisconsin, they like to run their dogs on both cats and coyotes.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, 10, 15 years ago, we didn't have that many coyotes. But, man, the last few years, they are
Pile of them.
thick. And if your dog wants to run coyotes,
You can find a coyote.
it's going to find a coyote while you're cold tracking a cat. There's just, you know.
Just pick whichever's hotter.
Yeah. Well, I mean, dogs that really like coyotes even will switch from a cat to a coyote.
Yeah.
You know, it's just, it's tough. So I break mine all on coyotes. He breaks a couple on coyotes that he'll run on bobcats, and then
Yeah, I run some of them on coyotes on purpose.
Oh, so you run coyotes too?
Yeah.
That's something I would love to go see.
I'd say I like it better than bobcats just because there's so much more of them. You know,
More opportunity.
Yeah.
you can run more dogs too.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Is there a limit on coyotes? How many dogs you can run?
Nope.
So like good training.
Yeah, and you
Makes sense.
get one going, and another one kicks out over
Yep.
there. You know, so kind of like I was telling you, we might run 3-4 bears at a time. You can do the same thing on coyotes. You
Yeah.
know, one kicked out over there, so he'll go dump a couple dogs out there.
What is the coyote season?
It's
Year
all
round.
Year-round?
Yeah.
So that's why a lot of people probably end up doing that, huh?
Yeah, and you can just run more dogs,
Yeah.
you know. More action. A lot of times a bobcat hunt I like it so much because I like to walk with my dogs, you know, either go behind them or whatever. Well, everybody can't do that, you know, so you got other people like his wife hates going bobcat hunting because they end up sitting on the road and twiddling their thumb all day, you know, because you get a cat jumped in a swamp and it never leaves. So it's just more... Yeah, the coyote hunt is just a little bit more interactive and, you know, crossing roads and stuff like that, where cat hunting, if you're sitting on the road, can be pretty boring.
Yeah.
So are you rigging coyotes then, or just
Nope.
turning loose on track?
On track, just drive around in the snow and look for tracks. And
That makes sense.
Yep.
Instead of waiting until summer and having them all rig coyotes, because those coyotes are probably around all the time, huh?
Oh yeah.
They don't leave.
Yep.
And that's
They don't run them in the summer that much, though.
No.
I mean,
Like the dogs just naturally choose.
yeah. Well, you know, I think, like I said in a previous podcast, our dogs are more bred for bear. So,
Right.
and we run so many bears, you know, there is a couple dogs that prefer coyotes and will run. You almost can't run them in the summer because they will run a coyote if they get the option. But most of our dogs, for the most part, prefer the bear and aren't going to switch.
What kind of mouth does your Blueticks have?
You can
I would say
everything.
everything.
Really?
So I mean, we don't get much chop mouth. Once in a while you do, but for the but yeah, all different. I mean, some got deep balls, shrill. I mean, I would say all different.
Really?
Some of them bark a lot. Some of them fairly.
I wonder
silent.
what makes the bark on a dog. I'm just trying to think. You know, because you hear so many different variations of their mouth, and I wonder where that comes from. That's what I was just trying to think. 'Cause
Yeah, beats me.
It is different. I know Danny went hunting with me, and she says, I don't know if I could listen to those things every night like you do, because she's used to hunting with my blue dogs when we used to have them. She's like, those dogs sound horrible.
yeah.
Because all mine are like squall mouth or squealy, or, you know, they're all foxhounds.
There is
now.
something about Blueticks barks, though, that just got that houndy
Yep.
Like a ball
sound, you
Yeah.
know. And
That's what I was thinking. It was my the blue tick that I have is the one. One of them sounded like an old lady, which she was, but she was like it was raspy, like, you know. I mean, you're like, oh, that's an ugly dog right there, and you look at it and it's like, oh, she's actually kind of cute, but she sounds like,
yeah,
you know. But then I have another one that has a real long ball or whatever, and so I was just curious on. It seemed like the blue ticks have a different, and maybe I don't know if they're different, but just a different barks, you know.
Mhm.
They're longer, different ball, I guess. But
yeah.
Do you guys get a lot of like changeover in your dogs from track to tree, or like Like my dog Henry, he had one of the most distinctive locate balls ever. Him and his mom actually both, where there was no mistake. And it's like,
What does it sound like?
You're gonna make me do it.
I can't. Well, I'm not a visual person.
I can do this. I will do this because I know you're gonna poke fun. He kind of had that raspy voice anyway. Like it sounded like the dog had been barked out his entire life. He just had a crappy vocal cord. So it would always start like a little higher in volume and drop. Like his locate was literally a.
Do it again?
No, I only do it once. That took. It was the longest.
I was just getting some static in my headset.
It's like that dog is going to run out of air at some point and totally deflate, and it would instantly roll over to just out, 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 and there was no mistake in it. Mm-hmm. And I've only hunted a couple of dogs that really had that, and I've hunted with some, but I don't know. He was a blue tick, and he's probably not super close related to your stuff, but he went back to some of that Diamond Jim too. But do you guys see a lot of changeover in the voices, or is it kind of like a?
Can you one up Jason's locate? Who can do better?
You can tell. Like before your Garmins go off, you can tell when they switch to treat.
Yeah,
I mean just by their voice change. But as far as us having, do we have any dogs that chop right now? And the Blueticks, you really don't find much of that.
Not a lot of track chop dogs.
But they change.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine will change over to a chop on the tree. Not
maybe Dizzy
on a tree.
So she chops more on the tree.
She's not our breeding though either.
She ain't. No, she was a different. These raid dogs, they were heavy on. A bunch of guys were, and I wanted to compare. So I'm like,
what is she?
She's Ray breeding.
Ray.
That was the guy's last name. He bred in
Michigan, right?
Yeah, he came from Michigan also. And I'm like, I just want to compare these dogs to our dogs.
Right.
So I made a deal. A guy's got some of our breeding and some of the Ray dogs. He's a good friend. He comes up every summer and hunts with us. And he said, if you take 2 pups of the Ray, you can have one. You can get them both going. You can have one and give me the other one back. Well, 3 weeks after I had him, she got out and killed the girl's chickens. So it was easy to figure out which one was going back to him.
Yeah. I got your dog ready for you.
But
come get it.
Yeah. And actually, that one that killed the chickens, Willow, she chops. She does, and I think she chops on the track too. Dizzy balls deep on the track, but she chops on the tree. But that's not our breeding. That's completely different.
Your guys' ball on the tree too, or?
Yeah.
Yes.
Pretty much all ball.
I'd have to think. I don't know. Like I said, I would think Cheyenne has. I don't know if she's a full chop. Like I've had short chops. Dogs. My red dog and all them are all like, but I think Shy kind of has a longer. I mean, it's not like a short chop. But it's a longer bark. But not like when she's trailing. When she's trailing, there's a lot of.
We need somebody on that can actually go into depth on why they bark different.
Yeah,
we got to find somebody now.
What makes it?
Because I've had litter mates like Paisley, the one that I brought hunting with you. When she would bark, she was a straight up rapid chop on track. Yacht, 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 yacht. I mean, she sounded more like what I'm running now, but she was never really a tree dog. So she had zero changeover at all. It was just, that's how she sounded.
Yeah.
Where her full litter mate brother, I mean, massive difference.
Man, that's going to be good luck figuring that out. Because, I mean, we'll have a litter of pups, and one of them will bark like crazy on the track, and another one will be pretty silent until it's jumped and it's same damn litter.
Right. Well, there's so many ways guys describe a dog's bark. Like a dog's voice is something so complex, I think. And people pretty much roll it into a ball or a chop.
Yeah.
But like you got horn mouths, you got squallers, you got squealers, yodelers. Like a dog with a roll chop to me is like one of the coolest things I've ever heard. And I'm not even going to try to reproduce that one, but it's cool to hear. Like I remember at one point, I'm sure I've told this story before, we were doing a judge's education for AKC at a show, and they had us all come down because there was a small group of us that were showing blue dogs. They were new to AKC, like they had just came out of miscellaneous, and we were showing them. And we go to this room, and I mean, and it's obviously listeners can't see. It was probably 2 or 3 times the size of this, and it was packed with AKC representatives and judges. And there was somebody there. I want to say he was in the hound breeds. I can't remember the specific breed, but when the guy doing the presentation was talking about their voices and how we get to know our dogs, he kind of just got real smart mouth. And he said, "You mean to tell me you know which dog's barking?" It's like, yeah. How can you know out of all those dogs? It's like, and I remember telling him, not only can I tell you which dog it is, I can tell you if the track's hot, if it's cold, I can tell you if it's a bear, I can tell you if it's garbage,
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you if he's going to stand a chance of catching it, or if we're just burning a bunch of gas and legs on a dog for something he's never going to catch. And they were completely blown away. And you try to explain it to him, it's like no different than if you're talking to if you hear your brother talking on the other side of the room, or you hear your kid screaming out of a whole playground of other kids, like, it.
Yeah.
And it just blew my mind. And I thought that's why we have to have these educational things, because it's mind blowing that people were that close minded. But I've always been around hounds.
Yeah.
And it's like, you just kind of knew that. But
well, my wife, so she obviously didn't. She always had dogs growing up and stuff, but when we started getting hounds, a dog would be barking, and I'd open up the door and
yell their
Prince,
name.
shut up! She'd be like, "How do you know that's Prince?"
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, "I don't know, I just know." Well, what do you know? A couple years later, here she is opening up the door. Izzy, shut up!
Yep.
I'm like, "See,
Yep,
you're starting to figure it out."
that's the truth, though.
Yeah, it's one of them things you
I call it houndsman Tourette's. Because anytime somebody's over at my house and somebody like even just starts whining, like when you can pick it out by the whine, that's when they look at you funny. They're like, "How do you know that that's that dog?" I'm like, "Just trust me. It's always that one."
Yep. So before we started, I was telling you guys I got him involved in the bird dogs a little bit. He's got a short hair of his own now too.
Oh.
He's not into it like I am. He likes to go hunting and stuff. But so I bugged him for years. We've got some relatives down in Iowa, and go down there and pheasant hunt. And bugged him for years to come with, and he's like, "Man, he'd always have an excuse. I could tell he didn't really think it would be that much fun. Like he just didn't quite get it." Well, finally one year I talked him and his daughter into coming down. And it was getting good. Like, I'm like, "You guys should come, and there's going to be birds everywhere, And we pull up to the first spot, and, you get out and shut the door, and pheasants just boil out of this place.
Oh, jeez.
And I'm
so
like,
you ruined him.
Yeah. And I'm like, they're like, him and his daughter are like, "Oh, man." I'm like, no. They didn't all fly away. And we go in there, and it's just crazy. Well, first off, I forget to tell them, only roosters. Him and his daughter. What's the first bird that gets up? A hen. Right. And it flies all the way down the line in front of us, and both him and his daughter, bang, 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 bang. Well, good thing they didn't even touch it.
Good thing you're a bad shot.
It kept flying, so I'm like, yeah, only roosters from now on, But we just had a blast that trip, and I think we limited it out almost every day. And towards the end of the day, the last day, my dog goes up on point up on the hill, and tell Chris to go up there, and, well, you're closer, you go up there. And he gets up there and kicks around, and out pops a rooster, and he shoots it, and he's fist bumping and stuff. And I'm like, well, I think he had a good time. We're driving home from Iowa, and he's Googling bird dogs. Once a couple months later, he's bringing home a short hair. So
nice.
He's
got bit.
Yeah, he got bit, and we've had some epic trips to Iowa since then. And he's got a really nice short hair. She does a good job. And
did you go to Pheasant Fest?
I did not.
Have you been?
Yeah, I went when it was in the cities a couple years ago. It's cool. It's huge.
I want to go check it out some year.
There's a ton of stuff there.
Yeah.
It's fun.
But you're going to be out west again this year. Didn't you qualify, or was...
Yeah, I'll be going to New Mexico in September.
That's right, New Mexico for the NAVDA stuff, right?
Yep. I try to go to a couple rough grouse society banquets and stuff like that, but the Wisconsin bear hunters here is, man, I try to tell people just how big of a deal this is and stuff, and I don't think people really realize it, and it's so cool.
It's huge. And well, I was talking to some guys in Idaho 2 weeks ago that were talking about flying out that might be here. Guys are traveling from all over to come to it. It's a pretty cool event.
Yeah. I think it would be, these other people that are starting these organizations around the country, it would be good for them.
Just come see it.
Come and see and just get some ideas. The level of organization here is incredible, with all the auction stuff and
raffles
and vendors and it's cool.
Yeah, the vendor booths.
So we're gonna try something new here.
Oh boy.
This is an idea that we had, which is we're gonna call somebody to ask a question. And we're going to try and help her through her question. You ready for this, Ross? I don't know if it's going to work.
I didn't know about this, in all fairness.
I didn't know about this until 5 minutes ago. I'm like, ding. So we wanted to try to implement a question and answer, like, like just a round table. And so she had some question about, I think, and I'm just going to let her ask, but like possessive dogs and aggressive dogs, and so we're going to take it. I'm going to try and give her a call real quick and see if it works. This is the first time, so if it doesn't work, we're going to edit this out. Can you guys hear the ringing?
I can hear it. One ringy dingy.
It sounds like it's working. I don't think the cut. So we'll have.
Hello, this is Chelsea.
Hey, Chelsea, this is Buddy with the W Hunting
Hi,
Podcast. You're the first person we've ever called on the phone.
Well, if I start sounding like a robot, let me know, because sometimes my phone does that when I'm on Wi-Fi calling.
Oh, yeah? Oh.
Yeah, I don't know why.
So I got Ross Ellwanger.
Chris
Ellwanger.
Jason Ellwanger. No.
Jason Ellwanger. We're all Ellwangers today. And so, anyways, we asked for people to give us some questions to try to help on some of the training talks. And so everybody's looking at me like, I can't believe you just pulled this out in thin air, because nobody knows that we did this, including you. You can attest that you didn't know I was going to do this until 5 minutes ago, right?
Right.
So take it away. Well, you had a question about maybe it was a possessive dogs, or like dogs kind of getting aggressive. I'm going to let you take it for a minute.
Yeah. So I have a 7-month-old plot pup. I left the breed out of my question in the chat because I'm
I would have just deleted it when you said plot. I would have been like,
that's why they're mean.
No.
Yep.
Just kidding.
We're messing with you.
So I have a 7-month-old plot pup, and she's shown some weird signs of possessiveness early on, like around 3-4 months old. So I have a fenced-in area that I let the dogs out to interact and play. And my original pack, I could have like toys and ropes and random things out there for them to kind of play keep away with and tug of war and chew on when they just want to sit down and not play and that kind of thing. And I noticed last fall with her pretty young that she was getting possessive over stuff. So I picked all that stuff up, and since then I haven't allowed anything like that to be out and around, just to try to avoid the situation. And then a couple weeks ago, we had a coon hide. A guy at camp and I decided to mess around with some pups with that coon hide, and she showed really good interest in that, like she should. And when any other pup, not any other pup in my pack, but any other pup from that guy's pack, showed any interest or came by her, she got real growly. And then if they tried to like stick their face by her, she'd kind of nip at them. And I guess to me, I took it as she was starting to be possessive over that game, because I saw signs, early on in her life of her being possessive over high value things.
Yeah.
It's never towards me. Like I can take her food away. I make her sit before I feed her, things like that. I can take things away from her just fine. But it seems like when it's other dogs. So I guess my main question was, what did I do wrong? What do I do now? Because I hunt with a group. There's like 5 different guys with their own little smaller packs, and we can't have dogs that are possessive because that'll cause issues at trees before we can get in there.
Correct. Who wants to take this, Ross? We're going counterclockwise.
Well, I guess so. I'll also
hot potato. I'm not
so
it.
I have asked like kind of I have a little circle of people that I kind of bounce things off of.
Yeah.
And the only advice I was given was you gotta like beat them when they're doing it. But my issue with that is, how does the dog know why they're being corrected? I don't want that dog to be afraid to chew on a hide anymore. You know what I mean? Like I struggle with that, with the correction, because I don't think the dog is smart enough to know why it's being corrected at that point. You know, like when it's chewing on the game and starting to growl because another dog is coming closer to it. But I don't know.
I have a blue tick that's like that. It's really possessive around
game possessive.
Dead game. You know what I mean? So if something comes out, which I don't do a lot, but I mean, as soon as she wants to get to it, I want her tied back. I don't reward her with letting her wool on it or anything like that. So I would not encourage it by, I would just say, if I go first, I guess, I wouldn't encourage it by petting her around, the hide or whatever it is, you know what I mean? Like if she gets it, she gets it. You're done with that training. I think just encouraging her to really, wool it or chew it or reward her with it would be not helpful. I mean, I just make things worse, I think. I mean, she just really helps it possess.
I guess a question about that, though. So, like, if I were to have went and kenneled her up, which I ended up kenneling her up not far after that, so I could bring out a smaller, like a really little pup, just to be around it.
Yeah.
Do you think if I were to kennel her up and let her kind of miss out on it, that it would build some, like, resentment? Or do you think she's smart enough to realize, oh, I screwed up, so I had to miss out on that?
Who wants to take that one?
Association is always the tricky thing, especially when trying to fix a behavior like that, because like you said, you want to make sure they're getting the right association.
Right.
I would say I'm going to kind of dip back into the experience I have in the bird dog world a little bit, and with some of the trainers. I think behavior like that is a dominant behavior. She is trying to show dominance over the other dogs, and basically say that's mine.
Yeah.
What I do, and for instance, I've got a litter of puppies running around right now, and one of my dogs, she's not bad. I mean, she's not going to hurt them, but sometimes the puppies will have something, and she'll kind of want to come over and just be like, "No, that's mine," even though she really doesn't care about it. And what I've just to show them, like, that's mine. And what I have been doing with her is when she would do that, I would run over to her, flip her upside down on her back, and basically hold her down. And she's going to fight. Basically, I'm just asserting my dominance over her.
You're being a bigger bully than she.
Yes, you want to be.
You want to be the
bully. Well, guess who's a bigger bully than me?
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
And then, if that was if that was something that she had claimed already, where in my situation she only does it just to take the puppies. Well, I'll hold her down until, she's gonna fight, kick, scream, or whatever. Wait until she kind of settles down and is like, okay, he's got me. You can tell when the dog kind of submits to that, and then I'll take that thing with me.
Yeah.
Like, this is mine now.
Yeah.
And I'll try to do the same thing around, whether it be dead game, or sometimes with the bird dogs, you'll get that with puppies. A bird goes down, that puppy wants that, and it'll growl at the other dogs or whatever, not let them have it. Same thing, flip them upside down, be like, guess what? This is my bird. It's going in my bag now. You're done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say that's what I do at a tree. Is like I'll run every dog off and be like, no, nobody gets this. This is mine.
Yeah.
And especially I really target the dogs that are possessive over that, and then I may go set it in front of a pup, but I kind of take over.
Yeah.
whatever it is that they're trying to own, I'm like, nope, that's mine. Like,
Yep.
that's mine.
And trees are tricky.
Which is great when you can be there.
Yeah.
Well,
But
that's
you
what I
can't
was just going to
always
say.
be there.
You know, they might be there for a half hour before you get
Yeah.
there. To be quite honest, the tree possessive stuff is kind of we're pretty good now, but a few years ago we were fighting that battle a little bit,
Dude,
you know, and
it's cancer. Like once it starts, that's the scary thing.
And you know, again, we would use the alpha, and you're back to that association. Well, now is the dog associating getting fried with treeing or the possessive? And you know, we had a couple dogs that maybe I shouldn't say a couple, but one dog that I'm thinking of in particular that he just basically won tree after that.
Yeah.
Well, that's a better
wrong
case.
association.
Yeah, he got the wrong association, but he's also not being possessive on that tree either, which I would rather have that than, you know, getting them all doing it.
Yeah.
So,
what do you do around your feeding? I mean, is the dog possessive around feed too?
So I had one, not anymore, it doesn't seem like. I had one thing where I was questioning it. So they all are in their kennels. I keep their food bowls are on a shelf, and I feed them individually, and I pick their bowls up when they're done.
Yeah.
However, when she was younger, I noticed the dog next to her was kind of passive, and I noticed she wasn't eating as much anymore. And so I watched a little closer and saw that she would go along that edge. Once Aurora was done with her food, she'd go over to the edge and she would just watch Minnie and kind of just stare at her and almost like intimidate Minnie. So she'd walk away from her food bowl and Minnie wouldn't eat.
Yeah.
So I separated them. I put a different dog next to her. Recently I've had to put them back. Those are my only kennels that can't. They're both diggers, so they have to be next to each other now. But since I put them back next to each other in the last couple weeks, there has been no issue. They're both eating their food, and then when they're done, they're done. They're not worrying about each other, and it's been fine.
Yeah. Yeah, I was wondering, because I like same thing with me. I feed together now on my deck or whatever, and so I've done a couple times where I had one dog that, I mean, I always joke about it. She'd be eating like, eating and growling at the same time.
Yep.
And, just like chowing her food down, but like, don't look at me while I'm eating, and just really touchy about her food. And I'd pull her food. You know what I mean? Like if she was going to be that way and growl, I'd be like, yep, no food.
You're done.
Until she was focused on her food, not worried about other food or anything like that. So, and then I've also had situations where I'll take something really good, like if I have leftovers or something, steak or whatever, I'll put it there on the deck, and every dog's there. I mean, they'll do backflips, they'll do whatever I want them to do, and I feed them, and I just hang out there, and I don't let any dog touch that thing. You know what I mean? They want it so bad, but it's a situation where I'm like, nope, I'm the alpha male. That's my food, and I own it, and I won't. If I feed it to them, I'll feed it piece by piece, calling them by name. But they'll also kind of come in that it just sets up a scenario where those dogs that are kind of possessive, you can watch the body language as they try and block other dogs out of it, or
Well, like she was saying with that kennel, because I've seen that firsthand too. Like you got two dogs kenneled up, or like you free feeding them. They use what they have at their disposal at that time to manipulate the situation and get what they want. They want it for a reason.
Yeah.
And I'm no trainer, but like me personally, I've had this situation before to where like when it came to feeding, that is the last dog that gets fed, period. Yeah. Every time when it comes to working, on training or whatever, if they're wooling a piece of game that's been shot out, that dog's tied back and it's introduced once it's already being wooled by like other puppies or whatever, especially younger dogs. That way it doesn't have that initial it's always going to have that instinct to take it, but you're starting off in a situation where it's like, okay, there's already other dogs engaged in this. I don't know about you guys are professional trainers there, Ross. Right. I don't know. I just know what I've had to do to fix it because nobody knew any better.
And the tree is the hardest part about what we do is our dogs do so much out of our control that it's stressful. I mean, when you have a dog like that, you're stressed when the trees happen, and I mean, I've been there, and when I hunt with buddies. I mean,
we've been there.
I want to say my dogs are perfect, but I don't hunt with other people, and so they get along with my pack.
Yeah.
But I don't know what would happen when I go with your pack, and so it's like, dude,
it's hard too.
A little face bite by a bark, and some dogs will turn on to full blown.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Well, and that's what makes me nervous, because we do have people in our group that have dogs that have history of fighting at trees. And so I already have told the guy that we kind of like share and run dogs together with, I'm like, she's only getting ran with our dogs, and if she's down, nobody's joining for the first couple trees, because the first couple trees, I want her only there with our dogs until I know what happens.
And you might be able to bring her into another tree, you don't run the race, but when
already
somebody is there, so somebody's there and be like, hey, especially the way, the group hunting that happens here, I don't have a ton of experience with it, but I would, if I had to do that, I'd be like, hey, let me kick my dog. And I hate doing this. I hate kicking dogs into a tree.
Not a habit you want to get.
No, I wouldn't get in the habit of doing that too much, but to just be there so you don't have a big old, some brawl, you know what I mean? Like,
nobody likes worrying about a fight.
Yeah.
I would say, to take that association, if you can, what's the word I want to use? If you can single out that behavior, to use it like they said with your group feeding and stuff like that, that makes the association a lot easier for the dog. If they're like running around in the yard with toys and stuff like that, that's a lot of stuff going on, and they might get the wrong association. But if you can try to start feeding her with your other dogs, kind of like Buddy and Jason said, maybe you can single that association out a little bit more, and
then when you're in a tree, they can
start with that food dish and flipping her on her back, or whatever you do, and taking that away. In the feeding area, when you're right there, maybe that getting flipped on her back and basically the dominance taken out of her. Maybe now when you get to a tree and she's got a little bit of a growl or something, maybe you can
you flip her over there.
Transfer that
I'd
association.
hate getting flipped over a tree if I was a dog.
Oh, yeah.
I'd be like, this is the coolest part of the whole thing, and you're flipping me over, and you're making me.
Well, and like I'm still fighting. I have one that occasionally will get a little possessive after, if something's shot out. First sign, she gets pulled. That's the end of it. Like, you're leashed up, you're out of there. You don't get a second chance. And it has really helped over I'd say over the last 8 months.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of naturally gotten better. But you just don't let them win, that's for sure.
You got anything?
Yeah, Chris is over here.
He's got the whole book in front of us, and he won't even open up and tell us a chapter.
Well, the way back that we did it, you used to do it, I had sore knuckles. I can't lie. But I would say try like what Ross said. I've never quite thought of it that way before, I guess. I have one right now, and she's pretty good. But as that season goes on, our dogs see lots of bears in the tree. And when she starts to get towards the end and she's really getting hyped up, she starts to do a little bit. I mean, she's not bad, and she's better than she used to be, but I'd shock her, tone her a little bit, Missy, I mean, I would say she's the only dog right now we have that does that stuff. And she's pretty good, but I think you praise them for doing good things, and you definitely make them aware when they're doing something bad, that it's not acceptable. And dogs are smarter than I think people realize too. Like sometimes I think they know you're getting after them for being food possessive rather than just because they're eating or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're smarter than what.
Yeah, I think if you can, find a way to trigger on that, and you can
push your buttons.
Associate it.
Old bird dog guys, they'll tell you, guys have been training bird dogs for longer than I've been alive. Everything starts with food when it comes to training dogs. That's what a dog lives for.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we all live for. If you don't get your food, you don't survive. And dogs realize that too. And if you can use that to your advantage when it comes to correcting bad behaviors. Those old school bird dog trainers will tell you that is the best way to get in the dog's head. If they think they might not get fed because of it, they're gonna quit doing it. You know, or they're gonna make that connection a lot quicker than, oh well, I got shocked on a 10 today. Yeah. Big deal. It's no big deal. So I think anything that you can associate with food, or try to get that association tied to that food and correct it around the food, makes it easier when you move out to other stuff. But, sometimes dogs don't have any issues when it comes to feeding, and it's just at the tree or whatever.
Well, and I would say keep in mind too, like, it's always going to be in the back of your head. I mean, when you've had a dog that's shown at one time, it is always in the back of your head, and your biggest fear is getting to a tree and having a war scene going on.
And I think just validating the fact that what you're feeling, all that anxiety, most everybody,
we're all there.
We've all been there. If sometimes we have better dogs than others, but even the ones that are like, they can bark and be like, I don't accept that, I don't do this. They've been in the same situation. There's a reason, people say that.
We've all had that dog that's a little bit touchy, but man, she can really tear things up too. And it's like,
it's a balance. It's like, how much am I going to put up with? I mean, that's like the tipping scale, right? It's like the value that's brought is here. Does it outweigh the other? And in my experiences, I can't say I've ever walked into a tree that there was like a fight that had happened without us there. It's like when you show up, those dogs know what's going on, especially guys that are whacking game out, or dogs that have seen a lot. It's like as soon as you start getting to the tree, then you start hearing it. But you can tell it hasn't been going on for 3 hours, or you'd have a dead dog sitting at the base of the tree, right?
That's generally the case, but we have seen it the other way.
Yeah, I mean, it happens, instances, but I would say if it's something that you can work on really hard now and get curbed to a point where, you're not really thinking about it at home, you can go through your daily routines and you can work through some of this, set up training scenarios, however that may be for you, coon hides or whatever. If you can get it knocked back to a point where it's like second nature there, start slowly isolating yourself out where you run a coon hide up a tree and you sit around the corner of the house and just let them sit there and like they don't even know that you're there. I think it would be pretty surprising how they react and see how those dogs' language, like body language, their barking changes when you reintroduce yourself into the situation. And I think that would surprise a lot of people when they can isolate different pieces. It's not just one tree. Like that tree is the same tree it's been, whether they've been treeing on it for 6 hours or 10 minutes. But when situations change, I just feel like there's different factors involved.
Cool.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, I have a few dogs that are pretty soft tree dogs, but once you get there, they lock on. But you can tell the whole time you're walking in, they ain't treeing because you can hear them,
Right.
And so I feel like, when you get there and all of a sudden more dogs get to the tree to try to show you where it is, that's when you might have some problems start.
Yeah. Well, Chelsea, how was your first time?
Hopefully
calling in a DU podcast.
Hopefully that was useful.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
If we got other people, that actually went fairly smooth. I'll be honest. We've been trying to think about how to get some questions and engage, and I like doing things last minute. Like I just like
that's how Buddy rolls.
That's how we roll. Just throw shit together.
It's more personal. I mean, because you can get only so much out of a message. I think because I know Ross, you get tons of messages. I know Jared's getting them. I'm getting them. Like everybody has questions, but you can't get the whole story. I don't think. Like this is the best way to really get.
Well, then you have a little interaction there too.
Well, there's dialogue. I mean, it's not an expert preaching his way of doing things. I mean, it's a little more open conversation like you do with your friends.
Are you coming to the show, Chelsea, here?
I am not.
Oh,
I am not.
This was going so good.
I actually...
cut her off.
You're breaking up. I can't hear you.
I'm planning on going next year. I already told my husband.
Perfect. Well, when you do,
come pick up your free T-shirt.
Yeah, we get you. I think we got a gift card or something for you. We'll get you sipped out. We won't get it till Monday, but
send it home with Scott.
Scott.
Chris knows who that is. I hunt with Scott. You can send it home with him.
All right.
He's looking perplexed. We might want more details later.
Just tell Scott to come find Jason and
Chris.
And what the
This
secret
is
code
Chelsea. You were
is
talking to us when you did a 180 on the highway coming home from the Michigan show.
Okay, that's it. All right. Now I know who you are.
I hunt with Grizz and Scott.
Well,
Okay.
you just got to tell him to come to the come on, find Jason at the booth, and the passcode is I hunt with Scott 6543278, and we'll get that shirt for you. And
Sounds
we'll be good
good.
from there. All right, Chelsea, thank you for joining us. We'll I don't know when this one's gonna launch. It'll be a couple of weeks, but I think it's pretty good. We're just at 12 o'clock. The show's starting, so we got to wrap up here and go.
Get to work.
Do some work.
Yeah,
here.
well, thank you guys. I appreciate it. I took lots of notes. I have some ideas of things that I'm going to chart or try. So yeah, thank you all for your time. I
Check
really
in with
appreciate
us.
it.
And check in with us. This was a good way.
So let us know how it works.
Yeah, or it doesn't work.
Yeah.
You guys suck.
Well, if it doesn't work,
Right.
just don't say nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll keep
yeah.
tabs on you now that I know who you are.
Yeah, for sure.
All right. Well, have a good one, guys. We're gonna end it here.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye. Okay. Well, that went pretty cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's noon here. I gotta go here. I'm gonna do a seminar here at 3. So I probably at least go work a little bit and see I haven't seen the booth since it's been set up.
I'm going to go pick up one of those holsters before they're gone.
Yeah.
Good luck.
Yeah, we
Run
got them
fast.
overnighted Tuesday because he called. He was like, I ship them to the show, and I'm like, how about you just overnight them to me, and then we'll carry them on so we got them Wednesday or Thursday.
Sure.
You should
So we
have
do
seen
got
our
a few of
luggage. 10 bags. To
And
show
then
up
we're
to
doing
Wisconsin.
the heat press T-shirt, which I'm really anxious about. We're either going to get our asses kicked because we can't press shirts fast enough, or it'll be the best thing ever because there's a bunch of options. So something.
So what are
different.
these holsters? Are they?
It's like a Kydex holster.
for a 200.
You attach it to something else.
I gotta
We'll go look
Yeah,
at
so
it.
I bought
it's
in
like a
about-
Kydex pistol holder. It has you put a clip, and we just got the Molly clip, so you could change it to the Molly strapping or like a latching belt, like if you want to put on a pack.
It's
or
like the
whatever.
last 5 years I've gotten like 5 different vests, and I spend a lot of money on one every year.
Mhm.
My wife is getting mad because I hate every one of them. I have
This
not
one's
found one
nice.
that I like yet.
Yeah.
It's got adjustable. You can adjust the belt strap size, so you can go down to like the thinner straps, and it's got like little blocks in there, so it doesn't sit there and rotate.
Yeah.
It's pretty slick.
So as long as you get those bars and those Molly strapping bars, it's like those parallel bars that packs have and all that. You can put it on those. You can put it on a belt clip, and we might even try to see about sometime getting a chest rig built out of it, but I'm not there yet. So, Ross, good to see you face to face.
Yeah.
Chris, thank you for joining
Yeah,
us.
it was fun.
We got to do this again. Like I
Yeah.
said, if nothing else, if we can think of a topic, I'm going to leave this thing set up. So if we can think of a quick topic we want to do for a training topic, even a short one,
We got access here all weekend.
yeah, we got this room.
Sounds good.
All right.